There we go. So just keep letting people in as they come online. Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. Oh, there's quite a few on. So just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to switch over. I've just been set up for the previous session, so I'm just going to get the stuff that I need up for this one. So just bear with me 2 seconds. Sorry, I know I'm just... So most of you, and obviously I don't think I've worked with a lot of you in terms of as a tutor on the DiSE program up to this point. So I imagine you're all at sort of different points with your careers workbook so far. So this session really is about seeing where you guys are up to, assessing any support that you guys might need, and obviously I'll be here to offer that support, answer any questions that you've got. But it's basically about us making sure that we all get up to the same point in this workbook, what that obviously being completed and submitted for where we're looking at the moment in your sort of time on DiSE. So what would be really useful, if I'll just give you all a moment now to, if you've not already got your workbook open in front of you, then we will just take a second so you can get that open, have a look through, see where you're up to. And what I really want you to make sure you're doing as well, because it's one of the things that really slows down the assessment process and obviously slows down getting you guys the qualifications, is that all the boxes on those forms should they're literally highlighted yellow, I believe it is, and then they should change colour once you've written something in. It's really important. Any text box on those pages is occupied with something. Oh, we've got John in the waiting room. Hi, John, are you with us? So, John, I was just explaining, just before you came on, explaining to the group that this session is about sort of reviewing our progress so far and just making sure that we all get to that point where we're comfortable with finishing the careers workbook. I don't know if there's anything you want to say to the second years before we start going through that, or...
Hello from a wet and windy Stoke-on-Trent. I'm sat in the car outside my daughter's dance lesson. So I'll be in the background. I'll chip in where it's appropriate. But I think, yeah, this is a good time because I know a lot of you are looking at university applications to actually just go back and review the careers workbook and hopefully sort of finish off the written part of where we are with that one. So C5 and C6 in particular, which are always meant to kind of be delivered at this point in time. So I'll kind of hand you back to Chris's capable direction. I'll switch my camera and light off, and then I'll obviously just chip in where appropriate as well.
Okay, yeah, so hopefully by now, I mean, is there anybody that is actually struggling to find the careers workbook, or is there anyone who hasn't managed to start that yet for whatever reason? Obviously, if you don't want to like announce that to the full group, feel free to directly message me in the chat if that is the case, because that might just mean that we need to spend a little bit more time sort of getting you up to speed, which is absolutely fine. It's what we're here to do. But if just at some point throughout the call, if you feel like you're a bit further behind than stuff that we're talking about, then yeah, do just drop me a little direct message in the chat, okay? So I'm going to just share this. Bear with me 2 seconds. You'd think I would be pretty quick using Zoom by now. for a full year and a half or whatever, but still takes me ages. Sorry, bear with me. Okay. So yeah, we've got the careers workbook here. As John said, obviously we should definitely, at the very least, have been through C1 and C2 at the moment. C3, just by show of hands in the chat, like thumbs up or thumbs down, do people feel like we need to go over this again? Would it be helpful to talk through that now? Or did most people manage to get C3 done on the last time you went over the careers presentation? Just get a few people in the chat box just so I can get a bit of an idea of how much time we need to spend on that. That'd be great. Okay, right. So obviously, as you can see here on C3, we'll quickly go over this. So we're looking now to sort of go through the people that contribute towards your career. So in the table below, complete the left-hand column to match the people/organizations to the role. Then complete the right-hand column by explaining how they contribute to your individual career. So that's pretty self-explanatory going through there. The one thing that I will say, and the reason that I did want to just talk about this briefly, is that I know assessing this tab in particular, people generally, as a general rule, aren't going into enough detail when they're doing the explain how the skills, knowledge, and experience of these people support you and contribute to your career. So if we look at the examples here, so some of the answers that I've seen previously might be coach, and then they're putting here, they coach you and help you improve at handball. So I think we'd really be looking for a lot more detail and a lot more, use examples from your own sport and career. It doesn't have to be in handball, it could be from anything. So if you were talking about how the skills of a coach contributes towards your career as an athlete, then you feel free to use personal examples. Like that really adds a lot of value to your answers as well there. But hopefully, from the overwhelming silence when I was asking, I hope that means that everybody did get C3 boxed off there. So if we jump on to C4, and we're just going to go through this, and we'll just have a little bit of a chat about it as we go through it. Obviously, if you've got your workbook open, and as we're talking, if you think things that you want to put in those boxes, then please do just put it in. And if you carry on that way, you might have the unit boxed off by the end of this call, which would be ideal. So C4 is looking at contingency plans. So you have now created your career plan program, which is the previous tabs. However, there might be times when problems or situations hinder or prevent you from achieving your goals. Complete the table to explain what contingency actions you would take in the event of the following. So I'm going to pick on people for some example of each of these now. So Ned, since you thought you'd lost your workbook and haven't, I'm going to pick on you first. So if we think specifically about the goals that you previously set, which you have to share those goals, but you just catch your mind to them. What sort of potential contingencies could you put in place, in the event of injury or illness? What do you
think? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Right. Am I just reading what I've already put in there?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you fill that one in, absolutely be amazing. If you feel comfortable sharing that with the group, that'd be great.
I just said that I leave sufficient time to recover from the illness or the injury, because otherwise it could cause lasting damage. Mm-hmm. And then during the time away from handball, you could analyze your gameplay to see what you need to work on when you come back, and then work on the mental side as well. And then once you've rested, and then ready to play, you just ease back into it, but not too heavily.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean, really interesting that you sort of I love it. It probably shows that you've got a lot of sort of like focus as an athlete, a lot of drive and determination. That you said that, you know, in your downtime, recovering from injury or illness, you know, the first thing you're going to do is like start analysing your game, start sort of your rehab, additional training, whatever it might be. Is there any other things away from handball that maybe we could utilise that time for?
You could, I mean, I don't really know. You could focus on other areas of your life, like get ahead on like schoolwork or stuff, so you don't have to balance your time as much between that and handball.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good example. You know, being able to capitalise on that free time that you've got to sort of catch up on the education side of things. I always think about this, and when people identify like using how they're going to use the time, recovering from injury or illness or any other absence from sport. And I always look at it from a bit of a mental health perspective and what is going to be most beneficial to you as the person, not necessarily as the athlete. And you know that could mean like taking a rest and doing some things that you enjoy away from handball. You know, could also be an answer there. That doesn't directly tie into you know, contingency plan. So it was interesting you highlighted sort of the stuff away from the court being all handball related as well. So in terms of the contingency plan, you initially said that it'd be about, you know, taking the adequate rest, the adequate time away from sport. I imagine that most people on this call probably don't have sort of access to a full-time medical team, physios, doctors, nutritionists, all those sorts of things. So if we are recovering from injury or illness, is there any sort of contingencies that we put in place to be able to help us access those things? That can be to anyone, unless Ned wants to chime in again. Like, is there anything available through the talent pathway, or is there anything available in like universities or schools or colleges that you could access and add to your contingency plan? Remember, we're really looking for a lot of detail here. So I'm going to ask Chloe Partridge, do you think if we're just going to add a bit of detail to that sort of contingency plan around injury or illness, can you identify some places where you might be able to access different support services? Help with that? Can you hear us, Chloe? Okay, Chloe, I'll come back to you. But if Hannah Saunders, are you with us?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So same question about where you might be able to access different support services that could help you with your recovery from injury or illness, which you could add to your contingency plan.
I know here up at Loughborough, there's we have like a nutritionist.
Brilliant.
So it's really important to eat well when you're recovering from either injury or illness.
Nice. So would it be the sort of thing where maybe if you knew that you were going to be, you know, away from the handball court, let's just say 6 weeks, you would be sort of proactive and maybe approach a nutritionist and say, what can I do? What's going to get me on court faster? What can I do to put myself in the best possible position? Would you do that, Hannah?
Yeah. And then in like GB squads, we've got physios. So just go and see them.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Amazing. So we'll just, the reason I like labouring a bit there, guys, is just because I do think it's really important that we don't just give quite simple answers there. I really want us to dig into what that entire sort of process would look like, where you might access support, think the specific things that you would do, who you would like speak to help with doing that, all those things. Okay, so we're looking now at contingency plan for failure to perform to the required level in your sport. So, Ben Hughes, have you got any examples of things that you could add to your contingency plan?
For what I said for this section, I said originally like the initial reaction would be to up your training hours and try and get back to the required level. But then at this point, if that's still not enough, then I would say this is where your educational background would help you. So you'd fall back and just like go to more like a university or more traditional route of getting like a job.
Okay, so you know, that's maybe like if you were. So it's kind of like going from, if you use the example of a job, going from being an athlete who is in employment to somebody who is in employment but is also an athlete on top of that. Just kind of switching things around a bit there. Yeah, I like that. And sometimes a bit of physical space and a bit of mental space can help you sort of reevaluate what it is you want to get from sport. So no, I don't hate that at all. And Anna Rayner, do we have any suggestions? Are you with us, Anna?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any other examples of things that you could put in a contingency plan for failure to perform at the required level in your sport?
I said that if I couldn't, then I'd try and look for a different level to play, so like a lower level, while also trying to get another job.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I like that. So it's, and I know a lot of players who've done that themselves as well. It's kind of like, and I guess in a sense, when I moved back to the UK after playing abroad, then that's also something that I did. Taking that step back, it doesn't have to be forever. Like handball isn't going anywhere. It's been around for a long time and it's still going to exist if we decide we need a few months or a year out. So yeah, sometimes taking that step back again gives you that space and time to consider where your priorities lie. And often you have to take, one step back to take 2 steps forward. So yeah, brilliant. Do we have any other suggestions from this? Jamie Galley, have you got anything to add?
Yeah. I said that you could take some time off and then speak to your coach about where you can improve and take time to reflect on why you're not performing at the level and then try to improve it that way.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a coach there. Could there be any other professionals that you might bring into that conversation?
It's also a sports therapist, because it could be about a mental block that's putting you off your game.
Yeah, absolutely. I once saw a sports injury rehab psychologist, and she did a series of I felt like my body wasn't performing to the maximum level, and she actually did a series of like hypnotherapy sessions with me, where she had me walking down long corridors with lots of doors, and then next thing I know, I'm pretty much all those issues that I'd had there were alleviated through those sessions of hypnotherapy with her. Which is obviously a very niche example of my back injury, but still. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jamie. So Matthew Hardman, do you have any examples of things that you might put into a contingency plan for failure to gain academic qualifications? You with us, Matthew? If not, Matthew, I'll come back to Chloe Partridge. You with us?
Yeah.
Okay, so what sort of things do you think you could put in contingency plan for failure to gain academic qualifications?
I just said like to continue working the best you can to achieve what you intend to achieve, and also maybe look for a part-time job and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's that's going to give yourself more options. And I think that's a really great way of framing it, because there's always a balance on like your CVs or when you're applying for jobs and stuff of a balance between academic achievement and real world experience. So in sort of in light of maybe not getting the qualifications that you wanted, I don't think there's no better thing you can do than actually go out there and get some experience, you know, potentially whilst looking to resit exams or you know, reassessing where you want to go educationally. But that experience, I think, is really important. So I like that as a contributing part. That's brilliant. Brilliant. So it sounds like, because everyone I've asked had all their answers ready to go. So it sounds like I was probably like flogging a little bit of dead horse in terms of most of you having achieved C4. If anybody hasn't achieved hasn't completed either C3 or C4, I know I did ask you this before as well, but if you could just send me a direct message in the group chat, just so I can get an idea of where people are up to. It might be a case of us going over C5 now, and then anybody who has any questions about C1 through 4 could stay on after we've gone through C5 quickly. So you've got a chance to ask any more questions. Does that sound okay? Yeah, as if I'm expecting a response, but yeah, okay. Okay, so career plan review. So obviously in the previous tabs, you have created your career plan. So as with all things, we're looking initially at the short term, and then medium, and then long. So we'll go through this really quickly now. So you've created your career plan. From working with your coaching staff, tutor, or advisors, review your action points and complete the table to review your areas of development. The organisations and people that have helped you, and yeah. Sorry, I missed that last word there. So explain how you've used their help and support in achieving your goal. If you have experienced any difficulties working towards these goals, please identify what action you took to overcome the problems and adjust or set a new action plan to help achieve your short, medium, and long-term goals. So you should all have this in front of you now. So what we're really looking for is go back through. I'm just going to check which tab it was on the initial plan, if it loads. There we go. Yeah, so on C1 and 2, you should have some goals relating to your sporting and professional life there, your sort of long-term career plan on C2. So then when you look at C5, what we're looking for is short-term actions and then how you're going to be able to implement them, both for within sport and then for your alternative career. So, you know, sport obviously could be handball, could be within another sport, and then alternative career, that can apply to your educational life or anyone looking to go into like sort of a combined approach in apprenticeships or anyone looking to go sort of straight into employment. Really sort of looking at what that goal is and breaking it down into more manageable chunks so that you can see what it's actually going to take to get there. So if we use the example of short-term plan, could be to break into your club's starting 7, potentially within sport. So let's say you're playing for Premier Handball League team, London GD, or something, and you, short-term goal, would like to break into the starting 7 of that squad. So people / organisations that you would need support from. If we look at Luke Chung, could you have a thing about what people or organisations you might need support from to be able to achieve that sort of goal or target?
You could talk to, or like the coach, see what he wants in your position for the starting 7 and how they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
You could also talk to like personal trainers or fitness professionals about how to develop certain aspects of your athleticism so you could become more effective and beat out the other people at your position to get into that starting 7. And then even like psychiatrists or nutritionists just to improve yourself.
Brilliant, brilliant. And how about our teammates and our peers? Do you think they can support in that process?
Definitely, because they're right there to see how you're playing, and they can tell you like what you do well, what you don't, and what type of player they like playing with, and how you can better be that.
Nice, brilliant. Brilliant. I like that answer, Luke. Very good. So I'll stick with you, Luke, for now. But can you think of any examples of different qualifications or training that you might need or might support you in that process?
What, for the same goal?
Yeah.
Extra training other than just your club, like whether that be in extra skills session or in the gym or going out for runs, or even like just really anything other on top of your handball training.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think things like working towards or achieving a qualification with DiSE, getting that sort of more rounded education as an athlete can be absolutely something. They can go into that. You know, might be a case of some of you getting other qualifications that can tie into your overall experience as an athlete as well. So you know, you can draw from other sort of examples of that as well. I actually think as well, it might be relevant for all of you, but I know for a couple of you it is. Things like doing coaching qualifications and things like that can actually really enhance your sort of sporting brain and the way you think about the sport, makes you look at things slightly differently. A lot of people say after they start coaching, they feel like they get a bit better as a player. So again, that's something else that you could add into that goal if it works for you. So Luke has already, that next one really eloquently explained the help and support of others and other organisations that you can use, using as examples of sports psychologists, personal trainers, coaches. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think he's definitely more than adequately sort of already covered that section. So again, looking at the goal now, so obviously we should have had those first bits inputted there. So bit of a refresher for anyone who wasn't up to that point. And now just on to a little bit of a reflection from your first point. So does anybody want to share the goal they actually set in this section of the workbook and maybe like share a bit of a reflection with us now? I don't know how, Miles Gannon, how would you feel about
that? Yeah, I feel all right about it.
Yeah, okay.
Could you just repeat the question again? I didn't hear.
Yeah, of course. So if we're looking at in sport, so if you're comfortable sharing it, what was the action that you put in for sport?
For my short-term one, I think it was. Let me just find it real quick. My short-term was just improving my 9-meter shooting scoring by 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what challenge I would face is that obviously success in my shooting. So being able to increase that percentage, and if it's not working, and still continuing to try and beat that percentage I've got. Yeah.
Okay. So what people / organisations did you utilise to help with that goal?
Up again. Coaches, peers, and sports science stuff.
Yeah.
So, for example, my coaches would help me with my technique to make sure it improves, and understanding how I can improve my shooting, where to shoot, the different circumstances. My peers would help motivate me as well, so that my teammates would help me. If I was a shot, they could help me or to prove myself by giving me advice or encouraging me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Okay. So, I mean, if you were going to give a bit of an honest assessment of how you working towards that plan and that goal has gone for you, would you say that you have fully utilised all the support and all the professionals available to you to help you towards that goal, or do you think that maybe there were areas where you, on reflecting back on it, you could have maybe accessed a bit more support, spoken to a few other people who might be able to help with that goal? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I was able to achieve that goal. My coaches have said that they can see that improvement, and in my peers as well. So they've been able to support me and get me to improve my goal.
Brilliant. So, what challenges did you face along the way? Did you come across any challenges when you were working towards that goal?
Sometimes just failure. So being able to get back up after missing a few shots and being able to get back again and scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. But failure is important, isn't it? Failure is the development process. I think, especially if you're looking at something quite sort of like moving your shot power. There has to be a process of failure in there to actually make those improvements. Okay, brilliant. So if you were going to make either a new or revised plan off the back of that, so maybe if there's a way that we could enhance that initial plan, add to it if you feel like you've achieved those things, can you think of anything that you might want to put in?
What, as in like improve the plan?
Yeah. So any way you could develop it further?
Probably like attending the gym more, because obviously shot power is important from shooting from long distance. So being able to get more power make it easier for me to score from distance.
Okay, brilliant. So that's I think that's a great way to enhance that sort of plan, that sort of goal that you've got. Is there any professionals, if you're going to look to add that to it, are there any other professionals that you think you can maybe bring into those conversations to act as a bit more support?
Yeah, like for example, a physiotherapist, because it involves a lot of arm movement and repeating it as well for shooting from 9 meters. So being able to improve my mobility would help in improving my 9 meter shooting.
Brilliant. And can you think of any? There's a new member of staff on our talent pathway as well, England Handball. So I think he would be a really useful asset in terms of this goal. So can you or anybody else tell me who that is?
Nope.
Anyone know who England Handball's latest member of staff is? I believe most of you have been on a call with him. Unless it was just the first years, I'm thinking now. Anyone? It's going to be a tumbleweed moment. So we have a new strength and conditioning sort of lead within England Handball now. He's going to work really heavily within the talent pathway, obviously regional academy, but then also sort of with those athletes as well. So that could be somebody really, really useful to that sort of really insightful support in that sense. So I know that we've just been through the example for the sports side of things there, the handball side of things. Obviously, most of you, by the sounds of it, have gotten to the point where you've put those plans down on paper, and it's about implementing and reflecting on it now. So I mean, John, are you still with us, John?
I am, yes, Chris, but driving at the minute.
Oh, apologies, John.
No, that's
Sorry.
all right. I was able to safely. I was at a traffic light when you called me in. So.
Okay. I was just going to ask if you thought it'd be appropriate to let these guys go and look to finish these reflections and the revised plans.
Yeah, and again, I think just hold on, Fliss, stop singing. My daughter's singing in the back of the car. I think, yeah. Once you make those adjustments, and we appreciate that for some of you, the adjustments are going to be very, very minor because you had quite a sound plan that you had in place this time last year when you put this together. Just highlight that you're still on target. And again, we are aware that there is an element of sort of box filling with some of this last couple of tabs on this. So just make sure you put something in each box so that it says 100% on the front page. and then can you just make sure that you send the work through to, or you put it on your Teams page in your channel, and you just alert Sue or Liz or Joao to the fact that it's there, and that you kind of are waiting for them to come back and reassess the finished workbook, so that we can sort of knock these workbooks off as we progress through this second year.
Brilliant. Has anyone... Oh, sorry, John.
I was going to say, does that make sense, or does anyone have any questions on that one?
I was going to say.
Great minds, Chris.
Okay, so it doesn't, nothing in the chat box. It doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment. Obviously, if anything does come up, feel free to drop an email or text. If you do have any questions about that workbook, I will. I'm actually in Portugal this week, but I will. I could do my best to make myself available if you wanted to. If you did want to send any questions about the careers workbook. I did get a couple of notes from people who said that they weren't quite up to that point yet. So specifically, if you guys have any questions, please do drop me an email. I think a lot of the content in that is very self-explanatory, but I'll follow up with you guys individually. And,
and again, Chris, I would recommend that they also go probably to Sue and Liz and Joao for that, because they're the ones that are going to be ultimately sitting down and assessing the work that comes through. So whilst Chris has kindly volunteered to do that, you know, I think that's something that you guys and girls need to go back to your assessor and have that conversation with them. If you do though get stuck, or there's a slow response, because we know people are busy and the guys, Liz and Sue, do have other roles as well, do feel free to ping me into a Teams message on your channel, and again, I'll aim to respond to that as quickly as I can. But as you probably know, I live on Teams at the moment, so go ahead and do that.
Great. Well, if there's no questions from you guys, I'm quite happy to leave that there. Sorry, John, do we have a deadline for the submission of this, or is that down to the individual assessor?
I think probably for this one, we probably want it sort of squared away by half term. I appreciate that for some of you is going to be in a week and a bit's time. So I'd probably say 1st of November. Let's go for 1st of November. And then again, I'll share that communication with Liz, Sue and Joao. And then we'll also follow that back up with all of you to kind of get that workbook done and dusted, so that you can then start to plan in the beginning of a professional discussion around career development. But equally linked to that, you need any support, advice around UCAS application, come to me if you need to. If you want anything around progression into Denmark and Europe, go and talk to Joao and or Bobby around that one, because you know, again, we want this experience to help you on your next steps on your dual career journey.
Brilliant. Well, I'll stop the recording.